Bring her around the casket, backyard full of bastards. Glitter on her hatchet and she's going on a manhunt. Sipping on some rich blood.
So I wondered, and I'm sure you've been asked this a little bit, but I'm just curious to know, what was your entry point into heavy music?
So I'm 23, so like a lot of people around my age, I'm pretty sure it was Bring Me. I think Bring Me was because I didn't really go through my like emo kind of like alternative heavy phase until I was phase. I mean like until I was like until I was a little bit older. When I was at 14, 15, I was like fucking a little indie bastard. I just loved like Joy Division, the Smiths, Cults, like all of these like old school indie bands and new indie bands and stuff. But then I think Bring Me was probably my entry point into heavy music around that same time. It was funny because I would listen to them in the car and I would be listening to like Sempiternal, and my mum was actually a really big fan as well, so it helped that like I could listen to this kind of music without pissing her off as well.
When was the first time you ever saw yourself like a woman who you resonated with in heavy music, where you were like, holy shit, that's me?
I think it might have been Brody Dale when I saw the Distillers on like Kerrang TV and Scuzz and all that, like Drain the Blood. I think Brody was the first time I saw someone who I like kind of felt like I could aspire to be in kind of rock music. But then obviously there's like loads of like old school like badass women. Like even Tina Turner was like a big one for me when I was growing up. Like I thought she's like the ultimate rock star when I was younger. Like for me, there would be no Axl Rose without Tina Turner. So I feel like Tina Turner was a big one as well. Yeah.
Love Tina Turner. But do you ever think that, coming into heavy music and not seeing women on stages all the time, or being as successful, or even to this day not being played on like daytime radio as much as men, do you think that is a detriment to women who want to come into the industry and want to be successful and have those aspirations?
Totally. I mean, when I was growing up in my local scene, I didn't play in any bands purely for the fact that I was like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm just going to be a bedroom bassist. And I was for like the first 3 years of my musical life. Like, I just played bass on my own in my bedroom to like with headphones on. Didn't even have an amp for the first like for however long. I just didn't want to get involved in any local bands. It felt so unwelcoming. Like there was so many snide comments when I first started learning bass. Like even from my ex-boyfriend at the time, we went to see a gig, and it was the only ever girl that I've ever saw play in a local band around my area, and he was like, that's how a girl plays bass, and then looked at me and I was like, what? What the fuck? But yeah, so it was completely underrepresented in my local scene. But then when I came to London, obviously it flourished a little bit, and I got to see loads of great like smaller bands with women in them, and it really kind of flourished from there. But I think that on a local grassroots level, it's so important for girls in their teenage years to realize that like you can take the jump, and there may be things to be afraid of. I'm not going to say there's nothing to be afraid of, because of course there's always like, things to be afraid of when you're making the jump into something like into big waters like that. But the payoff is so worth it, and like the ultimate reward that I find that you can have from music is inspiring people to do the same. Because when I was out touring with this artist Barnes Courtney as a session bassist in America, a lot of his fan base is like kind of middle-aged women, but also young women as well. But so it would be mums and their daughters coming to the shows, and so many of them, like even the mums as well, were like, I've never seen a girl like playing like that on stage, or like playing in a rock band like in my entire life. And I'm like, that's insane. So it's just doing it for people like that to spread the word and get people encouraged to take part and know that there's a support group for that now.
Mm. And I know you're not just limited to nu metal, but you do make some amazing nu metal bangers that I love. But when you consider the climate of nu metal is so male dominated, whether intentional or unintentional, and there definitely are some amazing women in nu metal, but it is still a very male dominated landscape. How has it been navigating through that as a woman, and have you had any experiences of sexism directly because you're making nu metal music? So that's yes.
I think nu metal is so funny because it's so overtly masculine. Like it's so macho. Like Fred Durst singing about like suck up on my nuts, bitch. Like I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny. Like I don't find it intimidating. I just think it's like hilarious and fun and like kind of campy. Like I feel like nu metal is kind of camp in the way that it's just so kind of outrageous at times, but it takes itself so serious, like a super macho like subgenre of rock. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like being a woman who makes new metal music. Yeah, like you said, there are like some real icons in new metal, but I feel like there could always definitely be more. And I don't know if it's directly because we make kind of new metal influenced music, but like we were doing a live stream for like a big UK rock festival, and I made the mistake of doing the comment stream while we were doing the set, and never again. It was kind of savage. Maybe it was because we were in between a video of Kiss and Steel Panther or something, and like they're like, not more rap metal. And then they started going in at me because I recorded my bit in the kitchen, and apparently like jokes about women being in the kitchen is still a thing. So I don't know if it was directly because of new metal. I mean, like most people are pretty chill, but occasionally you always get the dickheads because there are so many dickhead men like in that specific scene.
It's a bit ironic though, because you're right, I didn't even consider that. So many men in new metal talk about dicks and getting their dicks sucked. It's a little bit gay.
It's so gay. It's so like the campery, like all fucking the masks, the theatrics. It's so camp. New metal is camp as fuck.
New metal campus book. I'm taking that as a quote. You've dubbed yourself as angry music for sad people. Do you ever find that people kind of categorize you and stereotype you as this angry bitch because you make angry music?
I am an angry bitch. I don't care if people stereotype me as an angry bitch. I am angry. I'm so pissed off all the time nowadays. Like I'm finding my fuse getting shorter and shorter, and I don't have fucking patience. And it's really frustrating. And I've started doing yoga to try and combat it, to try and chill, and then also, like garner my strength, and whilst also like I don't mind being stereotyped as an angry bitch because I am, and I don't see any weakness or strength or like anything wrong with that. I feel like anger is a very valid emotion right now, and I think if you think I'm angry, then good, the things that I'm putting across are probably being translated well then, you know?
Why do you think it's important for women to make angry music? Because I think the whole art form of just being so fucking angry and aggressive on a track is just so beautiful. Like it's such for me, a cathartic release listening to that and feeling that like anger. Why is it important for you to make fucking angry music?
I mean, it's the exact same thing. It's cathartic listening to it. It's cathartic writing it. Like when we wrote a whole song about murder, we were like, oh yeah, this feels great. We were like, yeah, let's fucking, I want to kill somebody. And it just like, it got out a lot of, we wrote that during the first lockdown in March 2020, around then. And it was really important for us to get Bastards out. And Rage All Over came really shortly after. Actually, they were both written, and I think you can tell from like the vibe of the songs that they were written from a place of like anger, pure disdain, and like disappointment as well. And I just feel like it's a great cathartic release for, especially in a time when we can't, go out and mosh, and we can't go out and like maybe like see our friends and have other conventional releases. I think writing heavy music, writing heavy lyrics, writing angry lyrics, getting it all out is more important than ever.
You speak a lot about how like, there is sexism in new metal and metal in general. I wonder if there's any, experiences you've had at shows where people have been sexist towards you, just you, not like they haven't said anything to Sam, just you.
We were on tour once. We were in Berlin. Me and the sound guy wanted to go for a night out because we were in Berlin, and we were like, fuck it, no one else wants to come, let's go. Found this like duplex club with like all different music on different levels, and we've been saying the whole time how we just wanted to fucking listen to some Limp Bizkit. We go up to the top level, and we walk in, and they're playing My Generation, and I was like, ah! And I just absolutely spearheaded my way into this pit of loads of massive German dudes. And this guy was like, no, you need to stand to the side. I was like, do you even know who the fuck I am? I was like, do not do this to me. I was like, you need to watch yourself. And he was just like, no, you're going to get hurt. And I was like, you're going to fucking get hurt. Having the reputation that I had while I was doing Girl in the Pit of like being a girl in the pit and like being seen at so many shows and just doing my thing was like, it was good because people realized that I'm not to be fucked with. And like even playing shows as well, like I have had like we played once somewhere in Scotland, and like the sound dude was this old guy, and he was just a massive dickhead trying to touch my pedals, and he was like, oh, it would be better if it goes this way around and this. And I'm like, mate, no, you don't understand, this is a custom pedal made exactly for me, and it only works when it's this way in the chain, and you just need to trust me on it. He was like, and then he made a snide comment about my tits, and it was my birthday, and I was like, it's incredible that we've only been going a year, and I've had so many experiences to talk about already. That next year I'm going to be fucking Sarah Connored up. I'm going to be absolutely tanked, and I'm going to pick them all up. That's my goal.
Be as beefed up as possible so you can knock out all the guys in the pit.
Yeah, literally.
You mentioned Girl in the Pit, and I don't think people who've just become fans of Wargasm and you even know what that is. Could you talk about that and how, in a way, it helped break the stereotypes for women in the pit?
So Girl in the Pit was basically when I moved to London. I had no fucking friends. I didn't know anyone. None of my friends from Ireland had moved over to London. I was the only person in my year that went to London. I started taking the opportunity to go to loads of shows because I live in the arse end of nowhere in Ireland, and I would have to drive an hour to go to Belfast to go to any shows. So I was like, oh my God, there's so many people playing that I want to see now. Holy shit, I can go and see anyone I want. So, but I had no one to go with. So I ended up just like bringing a camera and like going in, because when you don't have any responsibilities to stay with a friend at a gig, you can just go off and do whatever the fuck you want, which I liked. So I always carried a disposable camera, and I just started taking these photos, and some of them actually looked pretty good, and I was like, damn, maybe I should put these somewhere. So I literally just started the Girl in the Pit Instagram, and the name came from, because obviously when you go to a lot of shows where the circles are all the same, it's the same people going, people will be like, "Oh, I recognize you. You're that girl. You're that girl from that pit that I saw in that show last week." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And it started happening. I was like, "This is weird." So I guess I'll call it that, Girl in the Pit. And that's actually pretty much how I met Sam. His manager recommended to get me down to his show because he liked my photos. And yeah, I went down and took some photos of their show, and then that was it. Pretty much it. That was pretty much the birth of Wargasm, essentially.
So you mentioned that unnamed festival where people were sexist towards you, and I wanted to just ask you about the whole comments about you being in the kitchen, because I remember the last time we spoke, you said that you weren't even the one who cooks in the kitchen, it's Sam.
Sam cooked all the fucking meals for us. He's the real chef. Yeah, it was really bizarre. It was so weird. I was like, wait, are people being like, are you being facetious, or like, are they like being like satirical? I couldn't, but no, they were being serious. They were like, oh, of course, the only girl in the band's in the kitchen. And they started calling about my tits. They're like, put your tits away. And I was like, that's the first time I've ever heard someone like say to me to put my tits away. I'm like, I don't care if people comment on my tits, but I was like, you want me to put them away? You okay? It was weird. It was a whole weird experience, and now I've learned to just never turn on the comment stream if you do a live online gig, because we do a lot of them. So after that, I had to just switch off, just watch the performance.
Just enjoy, straight vibes. No,
it's
no.
That natural gig. No one who thinks your shit will ever come up to you and say they didn't like it. But if you're behind a keyboard, people will happily say how much they fucking hated your show. And then the people who did like it, it's the opposite way around online. The people who did like it, you'll get like maybe like a small fraction of people saying they did like it, because if people do like it, they just don't say anything.
Yeah.
But the people who don't like it are so very vocal. So it's weird.
Looking at the bigger picture, though, festival lineups are penalised a lot for how they don't represent women enough. Do you think it's the fault of festival lineups, or do you think that, this is such a broad question, but do you think there aren't enough women being uplifted in the industry in the first place?
It's a really tough one, that one is, because like there was around that time when everyone was making, fake lineups and stuff, and I made like a Glastonbury one of like all women, and it was pretty badass lineup. But obviously that's not financially viable. Like you can't have Dolly Parton and Dua Lipa and Billie Eilish and Stevie Nicks and Alanis Morissette. You can't have them all in the same lineup. That's not how it works. You don't have the money for that. And that's something that people need to realize when like these things go on behind the scenes in booking. Like I'm not an expert, but obviously we know a little bit about it. It's duly faulted, because women need to be supported from a grassroots level so they can have the ability to move up the line to be able to get to the spot where they can be put forward for festival lineups and festival slots. And that's the responsibility of like everyone in the scene, to be able to like uplift people from a grassroots level. And then also, yeah, it does come down to bookers who just like don't think that they'll pull tickets or whatever, which is just stupid. Like it comes from both sides, but like the only way we can combat it is if we come together and actually like do what we say we're going to do and support female artists from a low grassroots level.
No, I definitely agree, and I think as a new band as well, there's been so much support for you guys, not just because you're a woman, but that is in part of it. And I wonder how you feel seeing women come to shows and be like, oh my god, like I feel seen because of you.
Yeah, totally. We were meant to be doing a thing for I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway because it didn't happen anyway. We were meant to be doing a thing with Bethesda, the creators of the video game Doom. They were doing a Doom like launch party at Underworld, and we were meant to play it with Higher Power. And we got a really lovely letter from the team at Bethesda, and they were like, "Oh, all the women on our team were really, really stoked to have Milkie there, and to have Milkie like represented in something that's so, you know, like video games is obviously like, even though like I think there's a statistic that says like I think it's like 60% of gamers now are women or something like that, or people streaming are women, but it's still seen as like a typically male dominated scene or whatever. But they said that they were super, it meant a lot to them to have that. And it's the same at shows, like when people come up, like I said in the shows in America, when people come up and say, "Oh, this means so much to me," like it really does make it all fucking worth it. Like it makes all the bullshit worth it when you see that, because that's the end goal, isn't it?
We talk about festival lineups, we talk about representation, but do you ever worry that that representation can get a bit tokenistic? And what is the dilemma there of uplifting women, but not just uplifting them because they're women? How do we navigate through that?
I mean, like, I guess you could say at a point, like, even if it is tokenistic, maybe if the bookers think it's tokenistic and they're just like, "Oh, we'll stick a female in the lineup," does it really matter to the people who are seeing that? Like, if they're doing it just for clout, that's on them for being dickheads. But if at a low level it inspires people who see that band to actually maybe like start a band, or like maybe start thinking about doing it, then does it really matter?
And finally, I thought I'd just give you the time. If you want to shout out any women that you like and you think more people should listen to, feel free. Now is your opportunity.
There is a badass punk band called Television Screams. They only got the chance to do one gig before lockdown started, and I feel so sorry for them. But it was the best fucking first gig. Yo, it was packed the fuck out. They packed out Fiddler's Elbow, and they are like good old school punk. Like it's great if you like that. And I really appreciate what you're doing with the podcast. I really fucking like it. Like it makes my I'm gonna listen to it today. It's Wednesday, isn't it? I really fucking like it. And I think what you guys are doing is absolutely awesome. And I appreciate having you guys in the scene with us, honestly.
Thank you. That makes me feel happy inside.
Well, thank you.